We are witnessing the 7 o'clock in the morning commute here in Easthaven County as we're gonna continue the development of Fort John, the county seat. We are getting closer and closer to developing the downtown core of Fort John as we've just completed the inner city area of Coleridge, a mixture of beautiful medium density and row house buildings, as well as plenty of services and education facilities. And we've also built the area flow plain to provide some industrial jobs, as well as added like a small, slightly abandoned industrial cluster right here in Winter. And while these are some nice new additions here in Fort John, we're still battling an unemployment issue and issues with education coverage. So if we check unemployment for starters, we are nearing 20%, which is really bad. The statistics kind of show the same thing. We have just crossed the 2,500 unemployed people mark once again. And if we check our total job count, then that is even despite the fact that we've added almost 4,000 jobs in the past 6 months. Those extra jobs have just not been enough to offset the amount of new housing we've also provided. So yeah, that's pretty bad. What's worse though is our education coverage. Elementary school is severely lagging behind. The high school situation is kind of okay after we built the William H. Cole High School here in Coleridge. And university, I don't really mind. We don't have any capacity yet because Easthaven is kind of a small county. But since we have built the Fort John Community College in Coleridge as well, we have kind of committed ourselves to providing college level education services. So we need to double our capacity. So today we're gonna try and tackle some of these issues before we get on to downtown, and I hope it's gonna be fun for you guys as well to kind of build some lower density, more detailed stuff, since we've been focusing so much on these inner city areas. So the first thing we're gonna do is grab the college, and I actually need to unlock it. I always sit on so many points, probably to the annoyance of some of you. I really want to use this asset because obviously it provides a 1,000 student capacity before upgrading it, but it's also quite beautiful. An issue is the size though. It's pretty big, and I kind of want to mix in a custom high school as well to create like a real educational cluster. But I think we're gonna do some land reclamation. This is something you guys have been suggesting a lot since we are taking inspiration from Boston, but it's not gonna be man-made land reclamation like adding additional piers or stuff to the bay area here. No, instead we're gonna be expanding on some of the features of the island, some of the natural features. I want to get a host of islands in here, like some smaller ones, as well as like some small narrow peninsulas, probably add in a few beaches as well. Because I imagine the waters are generally less rough and crazy in here, because we do have like a layer of bigger islands kind of shielding this inner bay from the Atlantic Ocean, which we have out here. This is the Atlantic, obviously. So we're actually gonna start with some terraforming. So I would not consider myself all that great at terraforming, but I do recall that if I raise the ocean floor first before I add any new peninsulas and reclamations and islands, then it's all gonna be a little easier. So that is exactly what I'm gonna do. So I'm just gonna increase the brush size here to 350. And then I'm just going to raise a large stretch of the ocean floor here, kind of showcasing the area I want to work with and add some additional land. I'm going to reduce the size a little and move over here and do the same, because we'll be adding a bit of stuff over here as well. And then I think I'm just going to buy this tile here right now, because I want to get the college placed relatively fast, so I kind of have an idea of how this area is going to look. Now we're just gonna grab our level terrain tool again, and I think I'm just gonna grab the height level that the initial roads here in Queen's Cave are already at. So that's 871 meters. I'm not sure how much that is in freedom units. And we're gonna reduce the brush strength just a bit, and then I want one big peninsula stretching out here, and then maybe a bit of a thinner one up here, so we get a bit of an interesting bay here, and then we're gonna squeeze in some islands here. So let's just start here and see if we can like create a peninsula here that feels a bit natural, like a natural extension of what we already have. and I want to make sure I have room for the bay, of course. And what you see here is the active sea lane we have currently, so we're also going to need to move that in just a bit. But I just want to get these peninsulas done. So this is where I imagine we'll have a beautiful little separate bay as well. So let's just add the additional fin peninsula. We'll drop the size of the brush just a bit, and I want to give it some slightly rough edges up here. So we'll just do something like this maybe. Actually, let's just make it a bit more of an interesting shape, something like this. And then a few islands down here. Now for this, I'm gonna drop the brush strength a bit more actually, because I want this to be slightly random. And this is what's so hard for me, at least, about terraforming. It's that, you know, nature is very much random. There are very few, if any, straight lines. So it's kind of hard to actually replicate, I find. But I think this is looking a little interesting, and we'll just try to have a bit of this poke through as well. So to kind of finish this up, I need to... Oh, wait. We're gonna grab this level, 871, and then get a bit going over here as well. And I'm not gonna develop or do anything with these tiny islands that we have connected out here. It's basically just to kind of make it a little more interesting, and that is certainly interesting, at least. Let's grab our soften terrain tool, and I want to keep a low brush strength as well. Otherwise, by softening, I'm going to remove too many of the edges. So actually, the brush size is, or strength, sorry, was still a bit too strong. As you guys can see, it is going to just smoothen it out, of course, soften it, as the name implies. But it's also going to remove the rough edges a little too much if the brush strength is too high, I find. Because I kind of like that there are some edges here that are a little more jagged than others. Once again, it's just trying to kind of mimic that random effect we see in nature that makes it so hard to create. Alright, so let's get this sea lane out of the way. Let's see, water, and we see it right here cutting through. So we'll just delete these segments, and then we'll just kind of route it around. I think, yeah, it's the narrow one, so we'll go for continuous. And I mean, we could enable contour lines so that we ensure it's deep enough, but that doesn't really matter. I just need to kind of visually ensure that it's deep enough, right? Yeah, I don't know if that makes sense, but whatever. We're gonna move around the peninsula here. Actually, let's move a little closer. I bet that would be kind of interesting. We'll have some interesting sights from the development we'll be adding to these areas. And then here I'm gonna be careful with how I bring these together, because we do have this segment of this bridge here being the tallest segment for the tracks. For the lanes, and there's the widest distance here between the pillars as well. But that's all connected up now, and we can now kind of assess the situation, and I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. I mean, I guess it's kind of flood prone maybe at times, but once again, I mean, it's very isolated from where you expect much of the rough waters to be, so I think it's okay. So as I mentioned, I do want the college placed early on so we can have an idea to build from here. And as you guys can see, there is plenty of space. So not only can we fit in the college, we can add the custom high school, we can add other faculty buildings, parking lots, a bit of landscaping, maybe a surrounding park, and we can fit in some of the low density residential stuff that's really gonna help define this as a really upscale area. But of course, before we do anything, we need some roads in place. So let's see what we have available. We can grab one of these custom roads I've created, the Rural 2-lane 2-way road. But I don't know if you guys can see this, but there's actually an issue here. This one doesn't carry electricity underneath the pavement. But this one does, and I think it's pretty much identical, really. Yeah, there is no difference, but it's able to carry the electricity underneath. So we're just gonna use that and upgrade that. But for now, let's just get a road kind of branched off here. Let's just see. Actually, I kind of want the road to follow the coastline here. So we might just start all the way down here, try to follow the coastline to about here, and then we're gonna see if we can create something that looks a little interesting here. Some sort of interesting connection. And that is certainly interesting. Now, we probably want a road here as well, but we're just gonna bring the college out once again just to assess. Do I need to bring that a bit back? Or should it just be placed somewhere around this vicinity here? I think I might actually it's not gonna be directly connected to the main road. We are gonna have a small alley stretch here. So let's just create a straight segment. Something like this. And then with the curve tool and some snapping, we'll go out by 21 and see if we can connect directly down to the main road. On either end, that looks all right. Not perfect, but all right. And then we could just place this right here alongside Rosewood Lane. Yank. Oh my god. Oh, 750k. Oof. I'm poor again. Oh man, I should go back to poor education coverage. This stuff is too expensive. And I need to place one more building in just a second, right? Let's see. There's the small high school, this custom building here. I want to place that as well. And I want to do the college library upgrade. Oh man. Let's just start with this for now and assess whether the placement is all right. I think it's quite okay. I think something that could make this area a little more interesting now we have the college in place is to actually just extend the small bay here. So I'm gonna grab a contour line here so that it's very shallow. And then I'm just gonna extend the bay all the way in here. I think that would be super interesting. Maybe bring it in here as well. Basically just trying to, once again, just make it a little more interesting, a little more random, and kind of getting the terraforming right from the get-go, because it's going to just bring this area much better together and make it, so that I don't have to retrofit stuff after I've already developed this land. So let's spend more money. The college library, I kind of want to place maybe back here actually, and I want to leave a bit of room so we can get a pedestrian path in between, like one of the regular paths. So I'm just gonna place it here, I think. And then the other building was the small high school, so it's this custom asset from PDX Mods. And how do I want to angle this? Actually just facing the road head on, I think, something like this. Yank. And then as we have a small bay crawling in here, I kind of want to do the same here so that it kind of looks like the college was, built more to kind of fit the land that was available here. So we're going to reduce the brush strength, go for level terrain tool, grab this level here, and we're just going to bring this bay in here and see if we can leave a bunch of like small islands in between. And we're just gonna move real close to the road here without there actually being like a canal. So something like this. I'm just gonna hit play to kind of let some of the water fill in, although that is probably gonna give us some utility or service coverage issue. Oh yeah. So let's see, we'll need to pause and enable electricity through these roads here, which is going to require us to upgrade all the way back to Fort John. This should be sufficient to bring power. And then sewage is almost covered. We have a segment here. which doesn't carry these pipes underneath. So we're putting them here where they belong, of course. And let's see if I messed anything up. Just gonna hit play again, and that fixed everything. And I'm of course going to just work on smoothing some of this out. A really low brush strength, so I don't smoothen out too many of the cool edges. Very, very nice. We could make this feel even more tailored to the surroundings by just kind of bringing the bay in here as well. Adding in a few islands. And then maybe just expanding here. Now, something I want to do to add a unique touch to this prestigious college is use some different surfaces. We've got one in particular I want to grab. So it's on the brick. And it's this one, this red clay brick type here. So what I'm just gonna try and do is I'm gonna try and overlay it on top of some of the existing pavement here. Not all of it, just some of it. And I think we're gonna involve the library as well, so that we just make that like one big thing. Well, that has certainly been fun. Let's see if this actually works. Ooh. That is very nice. It really adds a nice touch just by doing that little change. And we can use this red brick surface and another little trick to make sure that the small high school is much better integrated with the college. So one thing we can do is grab the color scheme here of the high school, and we can just copy paste that to our college buildings, so that's a little more in line. I mean, the architecture is a little different and it looks like the facades are a little different, so I don't mind that there's a bit of difference, but they do look a little better integrated now. We're then gonna grab the same brick surface, and then I am going to overlay that on much of the high school here. I'm gonna keep these surfaces as is and then connect them to the road here and maybe add some benches, because just by leaving them as is, I am going to, that's going to add even more variety in the amount of surfaces we actually have here. And we are gonna just extend a bit onto the actual parking lot here. And let's see, thereabouts, yoink. Very, very nice. And we can just quickly make sure that this is adjusted like that. And then I'll just bring this down to the road here. So let's get these paths added. And I think we're gonna do like a really simple path kind of moving around the college grounds here. Nothing too fancy. I'll have a segment go to about here. Then we're gonna go for the continuous tool so that we can kind of branch out a bit. Just do something a little interesting, and probably have a segment connect all the way up to the road here. Like this, and of course get these two connected. I'm gonna redo that. Let's try with 1 and 2, and that's also bad. But actually it's not too bad. And if we get another connection going down here, then it's gonna look just fine. And we'll grab the continuous tool over here and make sure we kind of snake our way through. Connect up to the road. We'll make sure we get a little straight connection here as well. Maybe one here for easy access. And then I think what I want to do is we need to actually move across this building as well. I think we should. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get rid of all the hedges. I'm gonna get rid of all the bushes as well, because I'm gonna plant some proper trees. And then we'll branch out from, I guess, about here. We'll disable snapping. And then we'll just kind of cross, because we don't have a lot of space to work with here. Obviously. Something like this. Now, once again, grabbing our surface tools, if we just expand some of the grassy textures here, then I think these paths are gonna look much more fitted to the area we're developing, because these add this non-gritty form to the build, right? By adding these edges and shapes here, so that's really great. So let's see, can I grab this grass here? I can. Should be able to kind of just expand this then. It's gonna be a really oddly, weirdly shaped piece of surface, but it is going to do the job, so. And here we're just gonna fit the existing surface that came with this library building. And maybe actually just, we should just make sure we expand this. And you guys probably guessed by now that we have another set of bushes down here, or hedges rather, surrounding the high school that we're gonna get rid of. If anything, we're going to add our own bushes to the, or hedges, sorry, to the whole thing. And we're gonna get rid of all the trees as well. We don't wanna have them interfere with all the trees we'll be planting. Get rid of all of the ones in the college as well. Now, as I've said so many times before that I'm gonna sound like a broken record, I reckon the trees are gonna make all the difference. So we're gonna start by spamming a ton of bushes here. And this is the default theme. We're gonna add 1, 2, and a 3. Make sure we have all sizes. Make sure we have a big brush size. And we're just gonna go ahead. Oh, look at our money. I can actually go broke by spamming bushes. That would be so fitting for me. We're gonna try. Come on. All right, no more money in the bank. I'm gonna clean up some of the bushes here, and then we're gonna add the trees, and then hopefully they should make a massive difference to this build here, because everything looks just a little barren, just a little naked, without a layer of nice trees. And the good old classic, the big fat oak, is also what we're gonna go for here, because I just think that's gonna be so fitting for this really old, beautiful college campus. So let's grab it. We'll grab the oak. And I think we're just gonna go for mature and elderly, so that we have a bit of variety in the sizes. And then we'll just be adding these everywhere. Added in a few London plane trees, as well as some decals, and I am very, very happy with how this turned out. I would love to be studying at a place like this. These are some truly beautiful surroundings with all the small inlets and bays, all the water and the beautiful trees. Very, very nice. In fact, I think we should take a little walk around the college grounds here, as you guys seem to really enjoy the first-person camera editions. So what I'm gonna do is open photo mode, and we're gonna set the simulation speed a little slower than the default 1. So if we set it to about 600 and we close this, then as long as we don't actually change the simulation speed down here, the 600 is gonna persist. And it's just gonna make it feel a little more realistic as we start our walk. All right, let's see. We have Fort John there in the distance. I don't know if you can make out the skyline of the city, but we can kind of see the train station at least. And we've got the custom high school to our right here and the college right behind it. So let's just take a little walk here. No actual sidewalks here, very much on purpose. I kind of like this look, even though, you know, functionally it's people would probably like some sidewalks. And just look at the amount of bushes and trees here. It's a pretty beautiful area. Slightly cloudy, but you know, when clouds are pink, they're pretty romantic. Yeah, I'm a real romantic. Let's turn right here and have a look at this high school building. Very, very beautiful. I guess, you know, in the role play sense of things, it's part of the college, but it's nice that it functions as a high school because we kind of need some of that capacity. So I think we're just gonna move on to one of the small bays we have here, and we're just gonna follow along the high school. And I'm pretty impressed with just how beautiful this game looks as we're this close. I mean, the textures and whatnot. I think that's something we should really recognize when, you know, if our FPS is at a little low at times. It's pretty impressive what is actually being rendered in-game on this scale. And as you guys can probably or hopefully see, pedestrian movements and car movements are just less erratic since I've slowed down the simulation to around 60% of the normal speed. And this is starting to look real nice. We haven't let the simulation run for too long, but obviously there are still people here. Enrollment has started, and it's probably gonna be filled out throughout this episode here. And I just love the aesthetics of these buildings. You know, look real old. They're probably not too old, you know, this is the US, but I'll give credit where credit is due. Many of the like state capitals and, you know, municipal buildings and older colleges from the 1800s and whatnot, they have really, you know, they had a sense of architecture back then. And that's very much the case when I was in Manhattan as well. I've, you know, the amount of beautiful old buildings is just astonishing. And the amount of detail added to these massive apartment towers built, you know, around the turn of the century is fantastic. And yeah, of course, the Chrysler building is a sight to behold. Anyways, we have the library building here on our left and the actual main college building here on the right. And remember, we haven't really done any we haven't done super detailed stuff. All these benches and the lampposts and the lamps, and whatnot are, of course, just a part of the vanilla asset. But we removed all the small tree stubs, replaced them with these big oaks, which I think is much more fitting. And then, of course, we've changed the actual color of the building to match the high school. I think that was the way I did it, at least. And we've added services, of course, and that just adds like so much extra character to this area, having different surfaces. Let's take a walk around the library, because hopefully the bay is gonna look real beautiful. Although I guess the view is kind of obstructed by the, you know, I-25 interstate crossing here, but you know, this is America, so we gotta prioritize the personal vehicle as a mode of transportation. And maybe we should make that bridge a little more beautiful, try and make something custom. But that's gonna be for another time. We have a seating dining area here. Once again, this is a part of the actual asset. I just added my own surface to it, and I mean, you know, this is perfect. Let's say you failed an exam or you have an annoying professor. I mean, you can kind of compensate by chilling out here, I guess. And maybe someone should come pick up the trash, though. Let's go for a run, actually. Oh, it kind of winds its way down here. This is very, very nice. Let's just have a look at the... Oh, I took a little dip there. Beautiful. Before someone comments that there aren't any mountains in this part, this southeastern part of Massachusetts, I know, but this is beyond the borders of the map, so I really can't remove it, unfortunately. And I mean, this is fictional after all, so I guess we'll manage. But the amount of trees and bushes and flowers here is just beautiful. By the way, if this segment is too long and too boring, let me know. There's been so many calls for some first-person views of my creations that I'm unsure just how much you guys can take. And oh, look. We have some morning gymnastics, maybe a bit of yoga here in the park. A couple of people tapped out. Oh, look at this young romance. And yeah, he, has her in a stranglehold, performing some MMA moves. I mean, I've never tried that on a first date, but you know, new times. Look at this hat. Oh man, I want to roleplay with this guy. But this looks tranquil. The goatee, not so tranquil, but I mean, very, very nice. Run quickly to the parking lot here so we can just kind of check out the front. I kind of missed that. Lots of people here as well. And we're really speeding through. We have the local road for the college, and that is beautiful. This is gonna turn out to be such a beautiful place. We are far away from the hustle and bustle of Fort John, and we can actually see the fort there, but we are close enough that it's like 5 minutes in car, right? But I think that's it for the walking simulation for now. Let's check enrollment. We're sitting at 322, steadily increasing, which is really nice. And the high school is slowly filling up. Let's just check our education statistics. High school is looking fairly good. College is looking good as well. We have a bit of excess capacity even. So the next one on the chopping block is definitely trying to improve the elementary school situation. But before we do that, we are definitely gonna need a name and a backstory for this college. And I imagine a place like this has a rather rich story and a very fitting old name. So if you've got anything on your mind, let me know in the comments, and we'll make sure to find a proper name for this place. Anyways, onward to tackling the elementary school situation. I think fortunately the vanilla elementary school, the base one we got when the game launched, is gonna be a pretty good fit for this area, and hopefully I can recolor it. So I kind of want to place it relatively close to the area here. I was considering adding it to this other cape or this other small peninsula, but I think I might just want to add it here, and then we'll do a bit of landscaping to kind of make it fit. So I'm just gonna pause the game. And then let's see, do I want a row of parking out front? I need some sort of a beach here as well, or at least make this more of a recreational space. But I think we can just start by just placing it, aligning it in a very normal way. And we have no money for extension wings or anything of the sort. So I'm gonna have to let the simulation run for a bit to actually get some moolah, because I really want the extension wings. That's gonna change the look of the building. So we're gonna speed up the game, and then I think meanwhile we can try and grab the color palette here from the college and see how that looks. And that actually looks pretty good. And this is making me kind of reconsider the placement here. Of course, relocating it, no, that's gonna cost us money. I don't want that. So we're gonna cheat and use move it, and just kind of move it over here to this corner here, because if I can kind of get it a little closer to the other buildings, it's going to more or less look like a part of the college grounds as well, which I think is really, really nice. So now it kind of looks like a single unit. And while we wait for the money to roll in, I think we should get rid of some of all these trees and stuff that follow the building, because we are gonna place our own flora. And let's just get rid of all the bushes and trees that are kind of sticking out here, something like that. Just get that cleaned up. So how much is the extension wing? It's 22k. We can build it in what? Oh, I need to enable Anarchy, but that's okay. Yoink. Well, this is an interesting design. The extension wings have a different color palette. Yeah, okay. We can color them separately. That's pretty interesting, but I really like this look. It does really look like it fits with the actual college grounds. Any more extensions we can use? There's the playground. I don't want that because there's not gonna be too collegey vibes if I add the playground. And I don't want to add the children's clinic either. But what I do want to do is add one of the custom PDX mods schools here because they actually have extra capacity. So that's something I want to add. So we're just going to wait until I have the cash. In the meantime, I'm going to add some of these red surfaces that we've been using, these red brick runs. I think we used this variation so that we can integrate the school a little better. So we are starting to see a good stockpile of monies now, and I've added in some surfaces and a bit of pathways just to kind of integrate it a little better. And we're going to grab the district tool, and then we're just going to increase the size of Queen's Cape to cover the entirety of the new area now. We may redo this, separate it into like smaller districts in the future, but I think for now we're just gonna make it one district just for ease of use basically. And I kind of want it to follow the actual landmass here because then I want to actually name the bay something else. Because I want to kind of use districts to also name natural features, just like we did with Sterling Lake in Fort John proper. So let's just get this all fixed up, and then we're gonna take a look at enrollment at the new elementary school and just kind of assess the situation. I think we need an additional building here, one of the custom elementary schools, just to get that extra capacity, but enrollment is looking all right, more than 600, but it looks like we still need at least one additional complex here. So let's see. We could go for one of these custom ones, but I've also just considered adding like a more modern building here. And then just, yeah, I mean, just having a bit of a modern offshoot. I think I'm just gonna try and add that there. That's gonna give a bit more capacity. We're gonna grab the color scheme. I'm gonna try, but I think, yeah, the roof is gonna turn white, which I'm not sure I want. So let's just see. Can I just... Oh, that's not the roof though. This one has to be then. So, okay, no, that's what? Oh, is it this one? I just want like a bit of a darker shade. That's fine. Sticks out a bit, but it is more of a modern building, right? I need to grab some parking lot, maybe this wide parking lot. Can we squeeze that in here? I think we can. So I'm just going to pause and get that placed as close as possible. Then we're just gonna move this modern elementary school building ever so slightly like this, and then it looks like it would be fitting to just add an invisible road here just to get that connection up to this road here. So let's just do that. I'm gonna disable snapping so we can bring this real close like that, and then in surfaces enable show markers. Then I should be able to align the existing surface so that it follows the new road perfectly. So we actually get that extra entrance that is visible with the decals on this parking lot. But it isn't a requirement for this parking lot to function that cars can actually enter here, so you have to kind of customize it like that if you want to. And then I think we're gonna add some decals to this bad boy. Let's see, stains, large ones from Sully. All right, and then over here we might as well just make sure that we have a few surfaces touching the parking lot, make it look better integrated. I promise I'm not gonna say, actually I can promise that I'm gonna continue saying integrated. That's kind of it's the best way I can describe it, I guess. And let's see, we have some grassy surfaces here, which I think we could kind of expand upon. And the cool thing with the grass is that it's always, you know, the least prioritized surface, I guess you could say. So it just goes underneath whatever you kind of extend it to, which I like, you know, knowing that it's very easy to just use the existing grass and textures or surfaces, sorry, to kind of fill out the area. So for instance, we could kind of grab this and just move it all the way out here as well to cover the whole thing. Something like this. Then I think we'll just see if we can make a quick crossing here. Is that gonna look weird? Oh, we kind of have a node right here. So I think if I can just grab that and move that a bit over and adjust this road accordingly, then it should be a little, yeah, it's gonna be easier for us to just make this connection here. Yoink. And then a tiny surface adjustment. Once again, easy grass. Oh, we actually need to adjust the red bricks here as well, something like that. And then we're looking Gucci. And now we just need some big trees, of course, to kind of fill out this space. And I'm spending all my money on planting bushes again. Yeah, it's an addiction at this point. So our education situation is starting to look pretty good. We still have open capacity at the new schools, the new high school, as well as the new college. So what we really need to start fixing is the unemployment situation. Of course, adding in these educational facilities have given us, you know, a bit of extra employment options, but you know, it's not going to be more than 200 jobs here. So something I think we should build that could be kind of fun is like a small, slightly dense office park that has like spawned close to the college. And, you know, I think that makes a lot of sense. It's probably working in close collaboration with the college. And it's a very good location to kind of poach students as soon as they finish their studies, right? So I think I'm going to use some of the prime real estate here near this big bay we have, because now that we've added the peninsulas and the extra islands here, there's going to be plenty of space for, you know, high wealth, low density developments here. So I don't consider this too sacred. And I think I have just the buildings for the job. So what I've done here is I have filtered for, let's see, I'm going to filter for medium density offices. This is a custom theme I grabbed from PGX mods, and basically I'm pretty sure it's just high density commercial converted into offices. So I'm going to go for a lot width of 6 to get some big buildings, a level 5, because that's going to ensure that, you know, they're the most developed with plenty of jobs. And let's just check some of these. So if I pause, then this one, for instance, might be a good fit. Maybe over here. So what I plan on doing is maybe just, let's see, placing this one, and then we'll just flip it. Try and get the alignment right to the best of my ability. Something like this, and then as soon as it gets occupied by companies that rent the office space, we're gonna remove all the signs, because I don't really want that. Let's see if there's, oh, this is it's a little too chunky. This one is pretty good, and this is a variation of that one. This is these are corner lots, so I think this is our best bet. Let's see if I can, maybe I can kind of, if I move this one back a bit so that it sits as far back on the lot as possible, like this, and then we kind of splice in one next to it, but move that a bit forward so that it kind of looks like a single structure, like this. Then I think it kind of looks like a single development, especially if I actually align the colors. Can I grab the light color scheme here? Yeah, it's a little boring, but I guess it's gonna work. We'll grab this one here. And this is so fitting for a parking lot, right? certainly. We can even fit in the medium parking lot, which I think is absolutely perfect. So we're just gonna try and get this aligned. Yoink. And I won't do any changes to that. But we can expand on some of the surfaces here to kind of make it, I'm gonna say well integrated again, aren't I? Yeah, sorry about that. I am just gonna kind of stretch this to get that aligned. See if I can. That's kind of annoying, but I guess I can. This is gonna remove it, I'm pretty sure. So we're just gonna. I think doing it like this is probably fine. And yeah, it's looking pretty nice. Let's just hit play and see how many jobs this actually provides. Oof. Nice. 900 positions almost, and they are just immediately filled. Okay, so yeah. To no surprise, the demand is really there. Anyways, better Bulldozer, remove sub-elements. And with this selection here, I can just remove all the signs here in one easy go. Because I think they look completely out of place. Something like this looks real good though. We might even place our own sign because I don't think it would be out of place. I just wanted like a single sign. So I've got this one, Pilot T, if that's how you pronounce it. Could kind of sound like, a software company of some sort. So I think it would be fitting that they have just a single sign on one of the buildings here. Yank. I think that just looks a lot more like an actual high-tech office building than, the other option we had. So I'm just gonna see if I can maybe find one more variation of these small one. Something that sounds or looks the part. Smelting more? PPM chemistry. I mean, that might be fitting actually. Yeah. And let's just have a look. I think that looks a lot more professional than before. And I mean, functionally, it added that 1,000 jobs, which I guess we really needed. Let's just check our statistics. Oh, this is money, right? So this is the before and after the education revolution. But let's be honest, all of this is probably all the trees we added along the way. Yeah, let's just move on to jobs. Now this is looking a little more interesting. Here's the 1,000 new job additions, and unemployment is plummeting. Very, very nice. How's that in percentage actually? It's nearing 10%, pretty good. But if we're to future-proof this just a little more, I think we could do with a few more of these office buildings here. So we're once again going to grab the medium density office buildings. I'll place a couple of different ones. We'll make sure to remove the signage, of course. Maybe this one is actually fit for being spliced together as well into like a bigger unit here. Yeah, actually that might just work. Getting the alignment as good as I can. There we go. 2 of those. Let's see if we can grab a level 4 of the same lot width. How does that look? It really looks the part, I think. Maybe let's see, should we place that over here maybe? Is this gonna be one massive parking lot? I'm not sure that would be too fitting, so let's just get this placed. Actually, can I just kind of move that back a bit from the road, and we can make like a little path maybe, just to mix it up. So we'll just get that placed as well. And companies instantly move in. Let's get rid of all this junk on either side of the building. Thank you. I think I'll grab this color scheme here and make sure that is on both buildings. This one as well, and that looks really, really great, I think. Can I fit some sort of parking lot in here though? And as you guys know, I always prefer to try and just use the existing parking lots creatively, because it does take quite a bit of time to make custom ones. Oh, that is massive. Long parking lot. I mean, I guess this could kind of work very close to this building here. Get that aligned, placed like that. Maybe even oh, we're just gonna try this. So that maybe it looks like one big parking lot. Is that gonna function? It is. Very nice. Let's get rid of these bushes here and probably do a bit of surface extension, but yeah. Surfaces, grab this one here, add a new node, and just bring that down to the road like that. And I kind of want this squeezed in here. Can I actually? Oh, I'm gonna mess things up now. I should be careful, I guess. Something like this, and then bring it down to the road. Right, I think that looks a little better. And then maybe, since this is a suburban office park and all, slightly suburban at least, we should get some well manicured grass in here. I just want to expand on this surface on either side of the building here. Just quickly, nothing too fancy, and then we'll get in the manicured grass. So I think we'll just add a massive patch till around here at least. This can be wild, I guess. So something like this. We'll make sure we cover all the way over here. Now, doesn't that look nice? I mean, as nice as a slightly suburban office park with surface parking can actually look, but you know, the density is actually there, so I think it's kind of fitting with it being a very short distance to the inner city areas and the future downtown of Fort John. Now, speaking of the suggestions we need for the college here, I think it's due time I go through some of the wonderful suggestions you guys provided on the previous video and we start implementing them. So let's start with Daffodil. We needed a new name because this is just an odd name for this cute little row house district here. And I really liked this suggestion here to name it Little Sicily. You guys enjoyed it as well. And then I imagine we'll add in some mixed house, some commercial stuff here on these empty blocks, and well, let's see if we can kind of make it look like there are a couple of pizzerias and stuff like that. Just, you know, stereotypical things we would associate with Little Sicily, not Little Italy. Very important distinction there. Anyways, let's move on to another renaming. So I kind of opened the idea to rename Winter in, I think it was the previous episode, due to this just being a little too quick, spontaneous name I came up with, and you guys really loved the suggestion to name it Windsor, and I do as well. There's the English heritage, of course, and I do think that plays along a little better with 5 Point and Oak Park as well. And remember, 5 Point is an unofficial district, something that real estate agents like to use to make it a little more fancy, because there are parts of Windsor, that is industrial, a little rundown. We even have some, oh no, public housing here to affect property prices negatively. Anyways, I also needed a name for this college here, the Fort John Community College, as I just quickly named it so that it had a name, and I really liked this suggestion to name it either St. John's College, Institute, or Academy. And let's just go for St. John's Institute, like that, because then we're leaving some of the other options open for the college out here. So yeah, thank you for that wonderful suggestion. Now, last but certainly not least, there was also a specific development suggestion, this one to suggest that we build a mansion that belongs or have belonged to the Cole family or the Cole family's estates, or a historical site related to the Cole family. Now, if you guys recall, the Cole family is a very prominent business family here in Fort John, and Cole Ridge is actually named after their heritage. And we do have this empty piece of land here, which I think would be a good fit for a mansion. I mean, it's very slopey, so that's definitely a bit of an issue, but let's see what we can squeeze in here. So I have just cleaned out the lot here. We used to have like a small park, and I have done a bit of homework to find the rock musician's mansion, because that just about fits here, and it has this really old architectural style, which I really enjoy. So we might just... I think we need it to be facing Queen's Passage though, because I think that's gonna maybe that's gonna play a little better with the elevation. Actually, I'm just gonna pause. We're just gonna check if that is actually the case. That is actually not the case. I am wrong on all accounts. So yeah, let me just relocate that. Maybe this way is gonna be a little better. And it's not perfect, but I think it's good enough. So I think, given the rich history of the Cole family, and how much they have provided for the city, there would be access to the surrounding park area for the public. So we're just gonna remove the fence, gonna remove the small trees here, as we'll obviously be spamming some big trees instead, and then we're going to just extend this nice grass here all the way out so that it fills the entire lot. And as I said, we're gonna make this publicly available recreational space for the citizens here in Fort John, specifically here in Coal Ridge. Let's just get, actually those small bushes can stay. Oaks, you guys know it, and lots of them. Just make this like a little sanctuary in this inner city area. We might even go for some, should we add some bushes and stuff as well? I think we should. We'll go for the whole 9 yards. Gonna deselect the biggest bushes here. I don't want that. Let's get the brush strength up, ensure we don't have Anarchy on, and we'll just be spamming some stuff. I don't think I'm gonna run out of money adding bushes here this time around, since I am so much in the positive. We're just, man, we are just raking in the cash currently. Very nice. And of course, we need to rename this rock musician mansion. We'll call it the Coal Estate to go as close to the wonderful suggestion as I can. So back to Queenscape, we have provided lots of new education facilities. It's looking all right. We might be able to squeeze in an additional elementary school somewhere, probably not out here, because then the concentration is going to be a little too great. And unemployment, we've kind of got that down to around 10%. So yeah, we'll see how this evolves. I think we do need to add a bit of housing though, just to kind of mix it up. And I did say I really wanted to build some low density stuff. I don't think we have time to fill out the entire district, but we could start with the existing road layout we already have mapped out in here. And I kind of want to do something a little different, because I imagined, my initial thought was that Queenscape was low density single family only. But I'm gonna try something a little new here. I'm gonna see if I can squeeze in some medium density old apartment buildings in between the low density single family housing. Yeah, maybe it's gonna look odd, maybe it sounds odd, but it's just something I kind of want to try. I want to try, an area that I think for the time was kind of revolutionizing. Developers were able to build medium density apartment blocks if they were beautiful enough, if they fit the quote-unquote character of the neighborhood, but developers were also allowed to just build single family. And since this was, not super close to downtown, the demand ended up being in such a way that most of it is single family, but you have a few apartment buildings mixed in. If that sounds super weird, I know, but I just kind of want to try it. I mean, we have to try out different things in Cities 2 before we have custom assets or the region packs, because, we don't have all that much stuff available. So I think this one, the Corundum condos, could be a great way to just kind of kick this off. So I'm just gonna pause and find a spot to place this, maybe even here. Actually, that's too big a lot. I think I want some housing here, so I'm just gonna place it right here. It's a pretty good fit, I find. Yoink. And then I've just kind of opened Find It. I've went into some residential, medium density, and let's just see if I can find something that I think is pretty enough. So for instance, we have this EU residential It's kind of small, right? But I mean, adding in a couple of these could be one way to try and achieve this look. For instance, adding it here where it kind of faces the bay might be a good idea. So I'm going to try that, and I'm gonna add a bit of distance between them. And we'll just add, I think we'll just add the 4 of them. This building we might be able to fit in somewhere else as well. It also has a pretty nice looking style, and we can kind of cluster them together a little so that they're not completely separate. I think that would be fitting. But I just want to really try this out. All right, we got that placed. Let's see if we can find something else that would be fitting. We have this building here, which I also want to place. I think this old building here might fit this corner. We can fit in another building here. Is that pretty enough? Maybe. I mean, I guess if we turn it into like a red brick building, maybe it's gonna look a little more fancy. Let's try and copy the color scheme from this bad boy here and just apply that. That definitely looks, I think that looks a little better at least. So we have a few of these placed. I think if I can just squeeze in a few more in this area here, then this is a slightly weird idea, but I really just want to try this out, okay? Let's see, we'll just add a building to this corner here as well. And we unlock some stuff, don't need that right now. And I think I'll add this one next to this one. Just have a bit of distance, they're not specifically wall to wall. Because there's a lot of space out here, right? So I'm trying to pick the buildings that kind of have a bit of bigger footprint than what is strictly necessary due to having like a bit of landscaping out front, stuff like that. But I think I'm just gonna get one more building in here where I imagine there's a bit of a view. This one is completely obstructed by the modern office development, but oh well. Let's just get this placed and have a look. So currently it's definitely looking a little weird, but I'm thinking that with some beautiful houses mixed in here and a lot of trees, it's gonna look interesting. But we'll have to fill the remaining area and then assess. So I'm gonna slap on some music and get going with those single family houses. Alright, so one issue became apparent pretty early on, and that is the severe lack of older looking single family homes. So unless I want a lot of duplication, there's quite a bit of like contemporary modern architecture in here, but I tried to kind of keep the color scheme somewhat similar. So I imagine that there are some pretty strict rules for if you build something new here, that you have to follow some guidelines. And then just to for a bit of role play, I can't colorize this building because it's a signature building and it obviously doesn't follow the remaining color scheme. So I made sure these doesn't either. And yeah, I guess there's a fun story in there somewhere about, fighting the authorities. And, there are a few houses that kind of stick out color-wise. I always just kind of want that randomness, but overall, the aesthetic is kind of similar, right? Anyways, these are some pretty old streets, so I added a ton of dirt and stain decals. The same can be said for these two parking lots. And I added these because it makes the area a little more unique, and I guess these are reserved for people that can document that they actually are residents in these apartment buildings here in Queens Cape. Because I don't imagine, this one actually has some parking facility maybe, but I don't imagine the more old buildings here actually have that. So we need some parking, and this is the US after all, so it's going to be surface parking. And it kind of breaks up some of these blocks and make them a little more unique as well. But I think to really appreciate this area, we probably need to get down to ground level. So let's just find a suitable area here among the offices. And I kind of like the contrast between medium density offices and then suburban houses right next to it. This kind of reminds me of Atlanta, where you can find a similar type of aesthetic. And I went really, really heavy with the flowers, the bushes, and the big old trees for this area here. So there's just so much bird noise, and yeah, it's looking really nice actually. Let's go for a jog. I feel like getting some blood into the legs, And I think we're gonna make a left turn down here. Oh, look at this. Nice ride, man. We made a left, and this is where things get really cozy and pretty unique as well. Apartment buildings next to single family homes. Moving down here, we have more mixture of older apartment buildings, some single family stuff. We have one of the two parking lots that we added right over here. I'm just gonna jaywalk across the street. Check out a few Mustangs and some Dodge Chargers. And I guess this is kind of the center of this little area. It could almost look like an inner city area from this parking lot at least, but no, it is purely residential. And we are actually approaching 1,000 residents out here, which really isn't too bad. And we do have this space left over, and it's probably gonna be some really fancy mansions, and some of the really big high-level single-family houses we'll be placing out here. These are gonna be some of the most expensive areas here in Fort John, I imagine. But I think that's about it. It was a lot of fun diving into a build of this type as opposed to all the inner city stuff we've been doing recently. And we did help kind of alleviate some of our issues. I'm sure unemployment is rising again now that we've added more people to Queens Cape, but we're definitely in a better spot than we were at the start of this episode, and the same can very much be said for our education system, and we are still just absolutely shoveling in money like mad, which is great. We're building a bit of a buffer so we don't have to take out any additional loans. So yeah, I'm gonna shoot some final cinematics for you guys as per usual, but as per usual as well, I just want to thank you guys so much for all the suggestions and cool feedback. We're really getting to name a ton of things, do a lot of developments based on the feedback from you guys, which I think is really cool. You guys certainly get to have a say in things here and get your touch onto how Fort John is developed and named. But thank you for sticking by. Thank you for watching. I hope to see you all in the next one. Goodbye.